My hands were shaking as I walked backstage at our company's biggest annual conference. The auditorium behind me buzzed with 800 employees waiting for the keynote presentation. I was supposed to be getting ready to present my project proposal to the entire company. Instead, Carla from HR was pulling me aside with that look on her face, the one that meant trouble. "Lydia, we need to speak with you privately. Immediately." My stomach dropped. Through the curtain gap, I could see my boss Gavin watching from the front row. He wasn't concerned or confused like everyone else would be. He was smiling. Actually smiling. "Is everything okay?" I asked Carla, though I already knew it wasn't. She avoided my eyes. "There's been some information brought to our attention about your professional conduct, based on a private investigation." The words hit me like ice water. Private investigation? My mind raced through every email, every meeting, every late night I'd spent perfecting my work. What could they possibly have found? "I don't understand," I managed to say. Carla's voice dropped lower. "We need to discuss some concerning findings about your stability and judgment. Please follow me." Behind her, Gavin's smile grew wider. 6 weeks earlier, I was hunched over my laptop in the empty office at 9 p.m., perfecting every slide of my project proposal. The promotion announcement had come that morning. Regional Strategy Director. 3 people qualified: me, Gavin, and Lauren. I'd been working toward this position for 3 years. My phone buzzed. A text from my daughter Sophie. "When are you coming home, Mom?" I typed back quickly. "Soon, sweetheart. Mommy's working on something important." The truth was more complicated. My ex-husband Josh was fighting me for custody, claiming I was an unfit mother because of my work hours. My lawyer had warned me that any sign of instability could hurt my case. So I worked twice as hard, stayed twice as late, and tried to be twice as perfect. I saved my presentation and gathered my things. In the parking garage, my car wouldn't start. The battery was dead again. I called an Uber and made a mental note to get it fixed tomorrow. As I rode home through the city lights, I thought about the promotion. I deserved it. I'd put in the work, the hours, the dedication. But something in Gavin's voice during the announcement had seemed off. Like he already knew something I didn't. The first crack appeared during the Monday morning strategy meeting. I was presenting my quarterly analysis when Gavin interrupted. "Actually, Lydia, I think there might be some errors in your data," he said, leaning back in his chair with a casual authority that made my stomach tighten. I double-checked my notes. "I've verified these numbers 3 times. They're accurate." Gavin exchanged a look with Lauren. "Well, we'll need to review this more carefully before moving forward." After the meeting, Lauren cornered me by the coffee machine. Where we used to chat about weekend plans, now her tone was cold and professional. "Lydia, are you feeling okay lately? You seem stressed." "I'm fine," I said, though my hands were shaking slightly as I poured my coffee. "It's just that some of us have noticed you're working really late. That's not always a good sign, you know? Sometimes it means someone's struggling to keep up." The words stung because they twisted my dedication into weakness. I walked back to my desk, wondering when my colleagues had become my enemies. That evening, my lawyer called with bad news. Josh was building a case that I was neglecting Sophie due to work obsession. What I didn't know was that 2 floors below me, Gavin was shaking hands with a woman named Monica in the lobby. She was a private investigator, and she had just accepted a job that would change everything. "We need anything you can find," Gavin told her quietly. "Drinking problems, relationship issues, financial troubles, anything that shows she's not leadership material." Monica nodded professionally. She'd done this kind of corporate investigation before. Companies often needed dirt on employees for various reasons. It wasn't pretty, but it paid well. "What's the timeline?" she asked. 6 weeks, before the promotion decision is finalized. Gavin slid an envelope across the table. "There's a bonus if you find something really damaging, something that would make the board question her judgment completely." Monica pocketed the envelope. "Consider it done." As she walked away, Gavin felt a surge of satisfaction. Lydia might be smart and hardworking, but she was also naive. She had no idea what was coming. Later that evening, Monica sat in her car outside my apartment building, camera ready. She expected to catch me drinking alone, neglecting my daughter, or meeting with inappropriate people. Instead, She watched me help Sophie with homework through the window. 2 weeks into Monica's surveillance, I had what I thought was a minor panic attack at my desk. The quarterly reports were due, Josh's lawyer had filed another motion, and Sophie had called crying because she missed me during a school event I'd had to miss for work. My chest tightened, my breathing became shallow. I gripped the edge of my desk and closed my eyes, trying to center myself. It lasted maybe 30 seconds. Nobody in the office even noticed. But Monica noticed. She was positioned across the street with a telephoto lens, documenting everything. She captured the moment my composure cracked, the way I put my head in my hands, the way my shoulders shook slightly. She called Gavin immediately. "I've got something." She had what looked like a breakdown at her desk, stress-related, maybe mental health issues. "Perfect." Gavin's voice was eager. "Document everything. This is exactly what we need." Monica ended the call feeling uneasy. What she'd witnessed wasn't a breakdown. It was a human being pushed to her limits, trying desperately to hold everything together. But she had a job to do. She didn't know that evening. I picked Sophie up from school and took her for ice cream, helping her practice her spelling words between bites of chocolate chip. The next morning, Gavin knocked on Carla's office door with a concerned expression carefully arranged on his face. "Carla, I need to discuss something sensitive about Lydia Carter." He sat down and leaned forward, his voice full of fake worry. "I'm concerned about her mental state during this critical leadership evaluation period. She's been exhibiting some troubling behaviors." Carla raised an eyebrow. "What kind of behaviors?" "Working obsessively late, appearing stressed and overwhelmed in meetings, and I've heard from team members that she seems emotionally unstable." The lies came easily to Gavin. He'd been practicing. "That's concerning," Carla said, "especially with the promotion decision coming up." "Exactly. I think we need to address this professionally. Maybe a wellness check? An evaluation period." Carla nodded slowly. "I'll call her in for a conversation." An hour later, I was sitting across from Carla, completely blindsided. "Lydia, we've received some concerns about your well-being during this transition period," she said gently. "Concerns? From whom?" "I can't reveal sources, but we want to ensure you're managing your responsibilities effectively." My heart sank. "Are you questioning my performance?" "We're implementing a brief evaluation period. Think of it as an opportunity to demonstrate your capabilities under pressure." The evaluation project was brutal by design, a complete overhaul of our client retention strategy, due in 2 weeks instead of the usual month. Gavin presented it with barely concealed satisfaction. "This will really show us what you're made of, Lydia." I knew it was a setup. They wanted me to fail, to crack under the impossible timeline. So I did what I always did. I worked harder. I spent every evening after Sophie went to bed researching, analyzing data, and building presentations. I called in favors from colleagues in other departments. I worked weekends while Sophie played at my feet, occasionally looking up from her coloring books to ask if Mommy was almost done. When I submitted the final proposal 3 days early, the room fell silent. The strategy was innovative, comprehensive, and immediately implementable. Even Lauren looked surprised. Carla reviewed it carefully. "This is excellent work, Lydia. Very thorough." Gavin's face darkened. "I'm sure there are still some areas that need refinement." But Carla closed the file. "The evaluation period is complete. Well done." That evening, Monica called Gavin with frustration in her voice. "She's not cracking. If anything, she's proving how capable she is." "Then find something else," Gavin snapped. "Dig deeper." The morning of the big company presentation, Gavin appeared at my desk with 2 cups of coffee. It was so unexpected that I nearly laughed. "Peace offering," he said with what looked like a genuine smile. "I know things have been tense lately." I stared at the coffee cup. In 3 years of working together, Gavin had never brought me coffee. Never brought anyone coffee, for that matter. "That's very thoughtful," I said carefully, accepting the cup. "I realized I may have been too hard on you during the evaluation period. You really proved yourself." The coffee smelled normal, rich, dark roast. But something felt wrong. Gavin never admitted fault, never showed vulnerability. This sudden change felt like a performance. "Thank you," I said, setting the cup on my desk without drinking. As Gavin walked away, I watched him through the glass wall of the conference room. He kept glancing back at my desk, specifically at the coffee cup. My presentation went flawlessly. The board asked thoughtful questions. I felt confident and prepared. But an hour later, Lauren's assistant, Jessica, came running out of the restroom looking pale and shaky. Food poisoning, she gasped to anyone who would listen. Came out of nowhere. Something nagged at me about Jessica's sudden illness. During the confusion, I quietly walked back to my desk and noticed something strange. My coffee cup was gone, but there was an identical empty cup in the trash near Jessica's workstation. My heart started racing. I fished the cup out of the trash, careful not to let anyone see. There were traces of coffee at the bottom, and something else, a slightly chalky residue that didn't look right. The memory hit me like lightning. Jessica often grabbed coffee from random desks when she was rushing around. She must have taken mine by mistake while I was presenting. I wrapped the cup in tissue and slipped it into my purse. My hands were trembling as the reality sank in. Someone had put something in that coffee. Something meant for me. The timing wasn't coincidental. Right before my biggest presentation, right when I needed to be sharp and confident, someone wanted me sick and humiliated in front of the entire company. I thought about Gavin's unusual gesture, his fake smile, the way he kept looking back at my desk. The pieces fell into place with horrifying clarity, but I needed proof. Real, undeniable proof. That evening, I called my friend Marcus, who worked as a lab technician at the hospital. "I need a huge favor," I said. "Lydia, this is serious," Marcus said 2 days later, handing me the test results. This coffee was laced with a concentrated laxative, a heavy dose that would have caused severe digestive distress within an hour. My blood went cold as I read the lab report. Someone had deliberately tried to sabotage my presentation by making me violently ill in front of 800 colleagues. "This could have been really dangerous," Marcus continued, "especially if someone had underlying health conditions." I thought about poor Jessica, who'd suffered for hours because she'd accidentally drunk what was meant for me. The cruelty of it made me feel sick. "Marcus, I need you to keep this confidential for now. But can you document everything officially?" "Already done. This is evidence of assault, Lydia. You should go to the police." I stared at the report, my mind racing. Gavin had crossed a line from professional sabotage into actual harm. This wasn't just office politics anymore. This was criminal. But I also knew that without proof of who did it, the report was just a piece of paper. I needed to be smart about this. That night, I sat in my car outside Sophie's school, waiting for pickup time and thinking about my next move. I wasn't going to become like Gavin, sneaky and cruel, but I wasn't going to let him destroy me either. 2 days later, I was having lunch alone at a small cafe when a woman approached my table. She was professional looking, maybe 40, with kind eyes that seemed nervous. "Lydia Carter? I'm Monica Walsh. I think we need to talk." I looked up, confused. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" She sat down without being invited, her voice low and urgent. "I'm a private investigator. Your boss Gavin hired me to dig up dirt on you." The world seemed to tilt. "What?" "6 weeks ago, he paid me to find anything that would make you look unfit for promotion. Drinking problems, mental health issues, anything damaging." My coffee cup rattled against the saucer as my hands started shaking. "And did you?" Monica looked ashamed. "I found a woman working herself to exhaustion to provide for her daughter. I watched you help with homework through your window. I saw you sleep in your car in the company parking lot because you were too tired to drive home safely. I watched you FaceTime your daughter every night to say goodnight, even when you were working until midnight." Tears stung my eyes. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because what I found isn't dirt, it's integrity. And because I think Gavin is capable of much worse than just hiring a PI. Monica leaned forward. "Lydia, I've investigated a lot of people. Most have secrets worth hiding. But you're just trying to survive and do right by your kid." Monica opened a thick folder on the table between us. "While I was supposed to be investigating you, I started investigating Gavin instead. What I found is disturbing." She showed me photocopies of expense reports. He's been inflating travel costs and billing personal expenses to the company. "Look at this, a weekend in Vegas charged as a client meeting." The next page showed email threads. He's been taking credit for projects completed by junior staff. And here's the big one. There are 3 harassment complaints against him that never made it to HR. My eyes widened. How is that possible? He has connections, people who bury inconvenient reports, but I have copies of the original complaints and witness statements. Monica's voice dropped. Lydia, I was hired to ruin you, but I'd rather help you take him down. He's a predator who's been getting away with it for years. I felt overwhelmed. This was so much bigger than just the promotion or even the poisoned coffee. What are you asking me to do? Play it smart, use this information strategically, but do it legally and ethically. Don't become him. I thought about Sophie, about the custody battle, about all the nights I'd worked late only to have my dedication twisted into weakness. If I do this, I'm not doing it for revenge. I just want my fair chance. Monica smiled. That's exactly why you deserve to win. For the next week, I wrestled with what Monica had shown me. Part of me wanted to march straight to Carla's office and dump everything on her desk. But the smarter part knew I needed to be strategic. I spent my evenings researching employment law and corporate whistleblower protections. If I was going to do this, I needed to do it right. Monica had been thorough. She documented Gavin's financial irregularities, collected witness statements from employees he'd mistreated, and even recorded him making inappropriate comments about female colleagues. The harassment complaints were the most serious. 3 women over 2 years, all with similar stories of inappropriate advances and retaliation when they refused. All buried through Gavin's connections in upper management. I thought about those women and felt sick. How many people had Gavin hurt while climbing the corporate ladder? But I also thought about Sophie. If this backfired, I could lose my job and my custody case. Josh would use any scandal against me. You're overthinking this, Monica said when I called her. Sometimes doing the right thing means taking a risk. That night, I made my decision. I would compile everything into a comprehensive report and submit it through proper channels. But I would wait for the right moment, when it would have maximum impact and minimal blowback. The promotion announcement was scheduled for next week. Perfect timing. Monica and I met 3 more times to build our case. She'd been incredibly thorough, documenting everything with timestamps, witnesses, and supporting evidence. The financial irregularities alone were worth firing. Gavin had submitted over $50,000 in false expenses over 2 years. The harassment complaints painted a picture of a man who abused his position to prey on subordinates. This is bulletproof, Monica said, reviewing our final compilation. Even his connections can't bury this much evidence. We organized everything chronologically, with clear summaries and supporting documentation. I wrote a cover letter explaining how I'd come to possess this information and why I felt obligated to report it. There's one more thing, Monica said hesitantly. I have video of him putting something in your coffee. My heart stopped. What? I was doing surveillance that morning. I caught him adding something to your cup when he thought no one was looking. Combined with the lab report, that's attempted assault. The video was clear and damning. Gavin, looking around nervously, pulling a small packet from his pocket and emptying it into my coffee before walking to my desk with his fake smile. This changes everything, I whispered. Monica nodded. This isn't just about corporate misconduct anymore. This is criminal behavior. I knew I had him. The question was how to use this information without destroying myself in the process. Promotion day arrived with unusual tension in the office. The 3 final candidates, Gavin, Lauren, and me, were scheduled to present to the board that afternoon. I went first. My presentation was everything I'd worked toward for 3 years. Clear vision, concrete strategies, measurable goals. I felt confident and prepared. Lauren presented next. Her proposal was solid but unimaginative, relying heavily on existing processes with minor tweaks. Then came Gavin. He was smooth and confident, but I noticed something different. He seemed nervous underneath his polished exterior, checking his phone repeatedly and glancing toward the door. After the presentations, the board deliberated privately. We waited in the conference room, making awkward small talk. Great presentations, everyone, Gavin said with forced enthusiasm. May the best person win. But his smile didn't reach his eyes. Something was making him anxious. Later that afternoon, Carla called me into her office. Lydia, the board was very impressed with your presentation. You should be proud. Thank you. When will the decision be announced? Early next week, but I wanted you to know that you're a strong candidate. As I left her office, I saw Gavin waiting in the hallway. He looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Part suspicion, part fear. That evening, I prepared the final version of my report. Monday morning, an anonymous envelope arrived at the company's main office. Inside was a comprehensive dossier detailing Gavin's misconduct, financial irregularities, and harassment history. The package was addressed to the board of directors, with copies to HR and the company's legal department. A cover letter explained that the information came from a concerned employee who felt obligated to report serious violations of company policy and potentially criminal behavior. I'd spent the weekend perfecting every detail. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. Even Gavin's connections couldn't make this disappear. By noon, word spread quietly through the office that an internal audit had been initiated. Nobody knew why or what it concerned, but the sudden appearance of external auditors made everyone nervous. I went about my normal routine, attending meetings and working on projects, but I felt like I was watching everything from outside my body. This was really happening. Gavin seemed agitated all day, making phone calls behind closed doors and snapping at colleagues. During our team meeting, he kept staring at me with suspicious eyes. "Everything all right, Gavin?" I asked innocently. "Fine," he said curtly, "just dealing with some company politics." That afternoon, Carla asked all 3 promotion candidates to hold off on any major decisions until the following week. Some administrative matters need to be resolved first. Gavin's face went pale. Tuesday evening, Gavin cornered me in the parking garage as I was leaving work. His usual composure was completely gone. "You think you're pretty smart, don't you?" he said, stepping closer than was comfortable. "I'm not sure what you mean," I replied, keeping my voice steady despite my racing heart. "Someone's been spreading lies about me, trying to sabotage my career right before the promotion announcement. I unlocked my car door, using it as a barrier between us." "That sounds serious. Have you reported it to HR?" Gavin's laugh was bitter. "Don't play innocent with me, Lydia. I know it was you." "I don't know what you're talking about." He leaned against my car, trapping me. "Here's the thing. You're not as clean as you pretend to be. Single mother, custody battle, working all hours because you can't manage your personal life. The board won't want that kind of instability in leadership." The threat was clear. He was warning me to back down or face consequences. "I think you should move," I said quietly. "Step aside for the good of the company, Lydia. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." I got in my car and locked the doors. Through the window, I could see Gavin's face twisted with desperation and rage. That night, I called Monica. "He's panicking." Wednesday morning brought an unexpected development. Carla called me into her office again, but this time her demeanor was completely different. "Lydia, I need to inform you that there's been a development regarding the promotion process." My stomach tightened. "What kind of development?" "The board has decided to put Gavin's candidacy on hold pending an internal investigation." I tried to look surprised. "Investigation into what?" Carla looked uncomfortable. "I can't discuss specifics, but we received a whistleblower report with some serious allegations. The board feels it's necessary to resolve these matters before making any leadership decisions." "Does this affect my candidacy?" "Not at all. In fact, it strengthens your position considerably." After leaving Carla's office, I felt a mixture of relief and anxiety. The plan was working, but Gavin wasn't going to go down quietly. Sure enough, within an hour, I received a text from an unknown number. "This isn't over." I forwarded the message to Monica, who responded immediately. "Document everything. He's getting desperate." That afternoon, the office buzzed with rumors. Nobody knew exactly what was happening, but everyone could feel the tension. Gavin spent most of the day behind closed doors with lawyers. Lauren kept shooting me suspicious glances, like she suspected I knew more than I was letting on. By Thursday, Gavin was falling apart. The investigation was moving quickly, and his usual confidence had evaporated into paranoid desperation. I watched from my desk as he lashed out at Lauren during what should have been a routine project meeting. "This was your idea." His voice carried through the glass walls. "You said she was the weak link." Lauren's face went red. "I never suggested anything illegal. That was all you. Don't try to pin this on me now. We're in this together. No, Gavin, I'm not going down for your schemes. Their alliance was crumbling in real time. Lauren stormed out of the conference room and went straight to her computer. Within minutes, she was printing emails and documents, probably trying to save herself by throwing Gavin under the bus. That afternoon, Lauren surprised me by approaching my desk. "Lydia, I owe you an apology," she said quietly. "I let Gavin convince me you were the enemy. I was wrong." "What do you mean?" "He manipulated both of us. Made me think you were trying to sabotage my chances when really, he was sabotaging everyone." She handed me a flash drive. "These are emails showing how he falsified project reports and took credit for other people's work, including yours." I stared at the drive. "Why are you giving me this?" "Because you deserve that promotion, and because I'm tired of being Gavin's puppet." Friday brought news that the board wanted to meet with all promotion candidates. But this wasn't the announcement meeting we'd expected. "Due to recent developments, we need to address some concerns," the board chair explained. Gavin sat stiffly, looking like a man facing execution. Monica stepped into the room, and my heart pounded as I tried to look surprised. "This is Monica Walsh, the investigator Mr. Foster hired. She's agreed to testify about her findings." Gavin's face went ashen. "This is highly irregular." "Mr. Foster," the board chair interrupted, "we're investigating your conduct." Monica stepped forward. "I was hired by Mr. Foster to find compromising information about Miss Carter. However, what I discovered was a pattern of misconduct by Mr. Foster himself." Monica continued with devastating precision. "I have video evidence of Mr. Foster adding an unknown substance to Miss Carter's coffee." She played the video on her laptop. The room watched in stunned silence as Gavin nervously emptied a packet into my coffee cup. The substance was identified as concentrated laxative that would have caused severe illness during Miss Carter's presentation. One board member gasped. Another shook his head in disgust. "This is attempted assault," Monica continued. "Combined with evidence of harassment and financial misconduct, it shows someone unfit for leadership." Gavin tried to speak, but no words came. His face had gone completely white. "How did you come to possess this evidence?" the board chair asked. "After observing Miss Carter, I realized I was being asked to destroy someone whose only crime was working hard. I couldn't be part of that." The aftermath was swift. Gavin was escorted from the building that afternoon, suspended pending investigation. Security walked him to his desk while everyone watched. Jessica came forward to confirm she'd been violently ill after drinking what she thought was her coffee from my desk. The evidence made Gavin's guilt undeniable. HR called an all-hands meeting. "We take these allegations seriously and will cooperate with legal proceedings." Carla pulled me aside. "Lydia, we should have protected you better." My lawyer called with good news. "Josh's custody challenge has been dropped. Your promotion and how you handled this crisis impressed the mediator." For the first time in months, I could breathe. Monday brought the official announcement. I was named Regional Strategy Director. The board acknowledged my grace under pressure and unwavering integrity. Gavin's attempts to destroy me had demonstrated my strength to everyone who mattered. My first act was implementing policies protecting employees from harassment. I established anonymous reporting so no one would suffer in silence. Lauren approached me after the announcement. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I've learned from this. What matters is how we learn from mistakes," I told her. Gavin pled guilty to assault and fraud, receiving probation and restitution orders. The harassment victims felt safe to come forward again. Sophie and I celebrated with pizza. "I'm proud of you, Mommy," she said. "You're the good guy." 3 months later, I stood adjusting my blazer before the company's annual conference. Today, I wasn't being dragged backstage by HR. Today, I was the keynote speaker. Sophie sat on my bed watching me get ready. "Are you nervous, Mommy?" "A little, but it's good nervous." The custody battle was completely resolved. Josh had apologized, and we'd worked out a fair arrangement. At work, I'd built a merit-based team that exceeded goals and launched successful initiatives. Monica had started her own ethics investigation firm. Turns out there's good money in doing the right thing. I grabbed my speech notes. Ready to see Mommy give a big speech? This time, walking backstage felt completely different. The auditorium was packed with the same 800 employees from 6 months ago. But everything had changed. I was no longer overlooked. I was the leader who'd proven integrity mattered. The applause was thunderous. I saw colleagues who'd supported me, others who'd learned, and new employees representing better hiring practices. I spotted Monica giving me a thumbs up. 6 months ago, someone tried to destroy my career, I began. They hired a private investigator to dig up dirt. They poisoned my coffee to sabotage my presentation. Complete silence. They hired someone to dig into my past, but what they uncovered was my strength. They looked for weakness, but found resilience. They searched for scandal, but found integrity. I paused. Real leadership isn't about politics or tearing others down. It's about lifting people up and doing right even when it's hard. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. Sophie clapped enthusiastically next to my beaming parents. They hired someone to expose me, but what they found shocked everyone, including themselves. They found someone who refused to be broken.